Brought to you by Basecamp Ed. I'm Morgan, your host of the Homeschool Curious Podcast. Whether you're deep in the homeschooling world or just starting to get curious, I'm here to bring you inspiring conversations with parents, educators, and business owners navigating the wild, wonderful world of parenting. Let's get curious together. Welcome back to the Homeschool Curious Podcast. I'm Morgan, and joining me today is Meryl Merwe, veteran homeschool mom, host of the Homeschooling with Technology podcast, and founder of Fundafunda Academy, where she serves up fun, tech-savvy classes that homeschoolers are actually excited to take. Meryl opens up about her family's homeschool journey, the surprising wins that came with it, and how she weaves technology into learning without letting it take over the wheel. We dive into creativity, problem solving, and the game-changing role of AI, all with practical, I can do this tomorrow tips. This episode is packed with ideas to future-proof your homeschool while keeping the joy dialed all the way up. Let's jump in. Today's episode is sponsored by Basecamp Ed, a community-building app that is free for parents to find local, like-minded families, dedicated teachers, and educational resources. Connect with parents to form your own co-ops, playdates, or groups. Need a math tutor or a sports coach? Teachers can list their credentials. There is also a business platform to discover game-changing educational brands. Take control of your child's educational journey. Visit their website at basecamped.com or download it in the App Store. Homeschooling was never meant to be done alone. It takes a village. Build it with Basecamp Ed. Thank you so much for being here. If you don't mind just doing a quick introduction about you and your family.
So you can hear from my accent that I am not American born. Grew up in South Africa, having actually been born in England. Married and had my 4 children there. And then just over 20 years ago, we moved to the US. And when we moved, the area that we moved into didn't have any great options for schools. I had not expected to become a homeschool mom. It wasn't a big thing in South Africa. It's grown since, but it wasn't then. We arrived in January, so school was obviously midway. In South Africa, that was the end of a school year, was December. So we had already done the year that the kids would have been moved into. So we decided, because it was, my children were between the age of 3 and 12 at that stage, we would just keep them home, figure out what did everybody wear so they didn't go with the wrong haircut and the wrong jeans, so they'd fit in. And so we just started, like the boys started playing, baseball, and we learned the national anthem, and we just we homeschooled. But it was a very easygoing homeschooling. I also didn't want them to stop doing any kind of school. So we just went to Walmart and we bought math books for their grade. I mean, it was literally treading water and learning the basics. But during that time, I discovered that the schools in our area were not amazing. And my children, I knew, were going to be bored and they were going to cause trouble. And I was going to be on first name terms with the principals of the school, especially my boys. My daughter was fine. She would have probably found a way to make it work. And they all really loved the homeschooling. We found a local homeschool group at our church and loved it. And they did spelling bee and GOB, and they had a Thanksgiving feast, and the kids got involved with all these things. And they were like, oh, we want to stay homeschooling. And that's kind of how I fell into it. They are now grown. The youngest one did go to public high school. It was then an IB school, and she wanted that experience. The rest of them, of course, had done school in South Africa and then went homeschooling. But they went all the way through, and they all got into college. So those of you listening out there who were really worried, you're near the beginning of your journey, and you're thinking, is my kid going to get into college if they want to go to college? I can say yes. My children won a lot of scholarship money, not just from the colleges, but external scholarships. And my kids all got accepted into some of the very competitive colleges too, and went to some of the top universities in the US. And my oldest has a PhD too. So
wow, incredible.
Yes, you can homeschool and you will get those academic results. I think it was better for us. But I, like you, when I was starting off, I had no idea what I was doing, and just used the wisdom of the people around me and was reading books. And there wasn't so much on the internet in those days, but I found whatever I could. So that's a little bit of my background. And then as I got more confident and into it, I started teaching at my local co-op. Later on, I started an online academy, the idea is you pick and choose your classes, not that you do everything through us, but we have online web-based unit studies, and we also have classes for mainly middle and high school. And I'm really involved with, say, our local homeschool groups still, even though I'm an empty nester now, coach a local science Olympiad team and a quiz bowl team and a podcast on the same network as this one.
I love that you're still involved in the community, even though you don't have to be.
I know. So my husband says my volunteer job takes many more hours than my paid stuff. But I've loved the homeschooling community. I love the name of your podcast. I love the curiosity of homeschoolers, the children, not just the parents. And I think that sometimes school really boxes that curiosity out. They're so busy having to follow all these standards, and it's much tougher on the teachers to try and do that. And you've got a big class. Whereas as a homeschool mom, you can develop that curiosity in each of your children. That love of learning is apparent in a lot of homeschool children and makes them fun to be around and to coach them and to travel with them, which I've now done with many of these kids who aren't my own.
Everyone can say you can tell when a child is homeschooled because they're more poised and they're more respectful and they're curious to learn and they want to learn. And so I love to hear that. And you mentioned you are also the host of a podcast called Homeschooling with Technology. So did you come from a tech background, or how did all that start?
So yes, my dad has his PhD in electronic engineering. And so I guess tech was always part of my life, though I didn't think about it that much growing up because I've been around a while now. But I did do computer science at school. And then at college, I just did one course in it. And we were the last ones at University of Cape Town who used punch cards. And if you do not know what a punch card is, you can go and look that up because it's something you will find in computer science museums now. But that was us. So I was still in the days of the big mainframe computers. I worked at Shell, the gas company, and I ran a little software company back in South Africa. I met my husband at college, and he and I ran training classes teaching kids how to code. That was how we made our money during the vacations. So the entrepreneurial part came in there and the tech. So as a result, my husband had done business degree. We have always been using technology and been knowledgeable, and I have been coding since I was a teen. So as I started homeschooling, technology was just naturally part of our lives. And I realized that a lot of homeschool parents felt a little lost and didn't really know how to get into it. And so somewhere along the line, I started the podcast and started to share tips on how to add homeschooling into your homeschool and then reviewing specific products. Most of what I review is free, just talking about how I'm using it, how I've seen other people using it, or how I think you could use it in your homeschool. Some of these are meant for homeschool, but many of them are not. They're just products out there. And so that's how it is. And I've just kept up with tech ever since. Teach technology classes as well through my business Fundafunda Academy.
So walk me through Fundafunda. I know we're going to talk about homeschooling and technology today, but just tell me a little bit more about Fundafunda too.
So it really started actually again through the tech angle. I started teaching at my homeschool co-op just because my kids loved our co-op and wanted more and more classes and I couldn't afford them. So I offered to teach. I still to this day have no idea why they thought I would be good at it, but I'm really grateful that someone decided to take a chance on me because it turns out I actually prefer teaching other people's children to teaching my own. I do not have a teaching degree. I have read so many books on teaching, though, and so many blog posts and listened to so many podcasts. So I feel like I have gone to my own little university on how to be a teacher. But one of the things I ended up teaching at co-op was teaching programming with Alice first and then with Scratch. And it was so difficult to do in person because, you've got a range of ages, as co-ops typically are. It was like middle school, high school. Some of the children would catch on immediately and would want to know what next. Another child is still trying to get into the program. And yet another one has discovered how to make sounds and he's just making a horrendous noise. There would mainly be boys, of course, because for some reason no one thinks girls can code. And I couldn't do more than 8 at a time. And that wasn't really effective. I wasn't making a lot of money. And I realized this is really not working. And I thought, if I put this online, and I make videos, they can stop. They can replay me if they're struggling. Go back and have a look. If they do need help, I can always jump on a Zoom call. They can message me. And that's how I started Fundafunda, was actually teaching computers. And then I started realizing, but I was teaching other classes at co-op. I'm your typical curious homeschooler. So I teach a wide variety of classes, all the things I love. So I was teaching history and geography, and I started thinking, I could do these online. and not live, but asynchronously. And that's when I started adding it. And then we eventually added unit studies too, which are for the mostly for the younger ages, but we do have a couple that are also for high schoolers. And obviously, though, despite the fact I'm curious, I can't do it all. Science is not my strong suite, so I got other teachers to come in and teach those. And I am only a native speaker of English, so I also got other teachers coming in to teach the languages. And so it kind of just morphed out from there. But we all have the same passion for exciting classes that are going to be super engaging, and most of us use quite a lot of tech in our classes, so that's also what differentiates me and us, particularly being asynchronous, which is no live sessions, means students are going to be online all the time, so you can use all the fantastic resources there are out there to get your kids really engaged, and probably mention a few of them as we talk today.
Yeah, absolutely. Why do you think it's important to include technology in your homeschooling?
Our entire world is full of technology. It's all around us now. I know there are some homeschoolers who really want to shield their kids from technology. And I get that. And I definitely think you need to be strategic about how you do it. And when they're younger, I would most definitely limit screen time. My kids were not 5 when there was all this technology around them. So while they need to be aware of it, and I definitely don't think there's going to be any problem with them playing the odd game on an iPad or whatever else, I would not be schooling a 5-year-old. And in fact, if you notice what I was telling you, Fundafunda Academy, apart from Spanish, we don't have anything for the younger children, because I don't think you should be. I think you should be doing it some other way. In person, put your kid on your lap, read them a book. But that doesn't mean to say there's still not a role in technology even for the younger ones, but introduce it slowly. But by the time they are graduated, the world is tech. They need to know how to use all the Google Docs and slides and all the rest, because they're going to need that at college and in their workplaces. They need to know AI. They need to just be able to be familiar with lots of different applications. So I actually teach a computer applications class. And one of the things is, yes, they get introduced to a lot of different types of technology. But more than that, by the end, I've probably introduced them to 30 or 40 different types of free technologies, all free. It's over a whole year and they get a full credit for it. But by the end, they are just so used to learning new tech. What I'm really doing is preparing them for the world ahead, when they're going to constantly be having to learn new tech. And so that's the real thing behind it, is to just get them familiar. And so that's it. You as a homeschool parent, if you don't love tech and it's not your friend, I hate to tell you this, you need to become friendly. You need to start, because it's there, and your children have to live in this world. It's not going backwards. And it's like, when the Industrial Revolution came in, the world changed forever. And it's the same thing. There are very, very few occupations these days that I could imagine. Don't even know if I could come up with anything that you really don't need any technology for.
It's so true. If a parent isn't techie, that's what I love, and I'm so excited about homeschooling. I am going to be learning right next to my son, especially history. I did not like history growing up, but I'm kind of excited to relearn it with him. And I feel like that's very similar. Like you were mentioning the classes that you guys offer, and you teach free technology usage. The parent could also be learning that right alongside their child. Like if you're not techie, there's no excuse.
Right. On my podcast, I will introduce it and I'll tell you like how you could use it. Then you can go away and try it out. And you can find something and think, oh, my child would like that, or that would be great for them. And then you try it and do it. But that to me was also the biggest joy of homeschooling. I learned all the art history I know. That was through homeschooling. I didn't know
anything about art history, so
I know every major city we go to, my husband and I go to the art galleries. And I'm still not like amazingly smart about art, but now I know enough to appreciate it, and I know the major artists. And the joy has been to me is also that my children will go to different cities around, and they'll be like posting on Instagram, they went to the art gallery, and I'm like, yay, we all learned and we all got excited about it. So it is, learn it. I think that's always a problem with the parents. I think, oh, how am I going to teach my kid to code or whatever else? Even if you're buying a class, you can still sit with them. Or you could just, a lot of these things, do it with them. And when your child sees you struggle and not give up, that is a powerful lesson. when you show them how to solve the problem, like, I don't know how to make this technology work. Now let's go and figure out how we should do this. Let's use the help. Let's go and Google for an answer or go to ChatGPT or whatever. They are seeing it being modeled how to solve a problem, rather than you just not doing it because you're scared and you don't want your child to see that you don't know how to do it. No, you've got to show them not to be scared of trying new things. This is part of homeschooling.
I love that.
Listen, teaching at co-op on a regular basis, something will happen and some kid will tell me something that I didn't know and they knew. And they all know that they know more than me in certain areas. And I am fine with that. I love the fact that they've gone deep into some topic, or they can figure out how to fix my tech issues, which I have every so often at co-op. And they still listen to me and learn from me because they know these things I know that they don't know. But I've long since not worried about what I don't know.
So I'm sure, you don't want to give away all of your trade secrets, but what would you say is one really good first step or tip that a homeschool parent could start doing to incorporate technology into their homeschooling?
Okay, so if you're wanting to incorporate technology, I'd say there's two main areas, and I've got tons of episodes on these. But the one area is to make your own lessons more engaging. So if we look at that first, this is like, let's say you are studying pandas. If you go to something like explore.org, it is a live webcam. Okay, I'm not sure if they have pandas because I just threw out the idea in my head now. But I know they definitely have bears. So Fat Bear Week, they're always like, there's always plenty of webcams on the bears. And I know they have an eagle cam. They have a lot of these cams set up in the wild. So if you are studying an animal, you can go and sit and literally in real time sit and watch that. So that is something that a 4-year-old is going to absolutely love.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
A 14-year-old's going to love it, and a 4-year-old's going to love it, and a 40-year-old's going to love it. We're all going to love it. So that is a fantastic site that's completely free, explore.org. Another thing that's really easy to use is Google Maps, where you actually go and you walk it with your little person. Google Street View is fantastic. So if you're reading a literature book that is set like you're reading Paddington, he goes to the Tower of London. You can go to the Tower of London and you can click on Street View, and there you are, standing in front of the Tower of London. And if it says that, Paddington walked around it, you can walk around it because Google Street View lets you do that. And how fun is that to actually be immersed in it, being able to actually go to the place? Of course, Google also has their Google Earth things, and Google Arts and Culture will take you like places like Machu Picchu. You can go in my geography classes, I get the kids to walk around Machu Picchu. I also send them on scavenger hunts around Paris, where they have to like find the answers to a whole lot of questions. I start them, I think, at the Louvre, and then they have to like go in the streets nearby and they have to answer a whole bunch of questions, just wandering around the streets of Paris. So you can transport your kids somewhere else to make it really exciting. You can also use games. There are lots of online games that are very educational. And when I say games, I'm like not talking about just quizzes. Yes, there's millions of quizzes, but there are really games out there that are fun. Civics, for those who've got slightly older children, is one particularly fun one. They've got a lot of government games, like teaching you what are your rights, and you're the lawyer. And this is your homework, Morgan. Go and play this game. It's on your iPad or online or anything else, and you are going to get hooked. Your kids are going to be like, "What are you doing, Mom?" You are a lawyer, and you have to decide as you get clients. So it's like little peoples, it's like a little video game. The people come and they say to you, "Oh, my neighbor cut down a tree and it fell onto my yard." And you've got to decide, is that one of the, do they have a right not to have their neighbor's tree fall on there? And if so, you've got to send them to the right. You've got these little lawyers sitting there. You've got to know which one is a specialist in that area. And as you do better and you make money, you can buy more furniture and you get more clients, and it's a whole thing. And every time I play it, I get stuck and just want to play and play. But these games for all ages that really teach through play, but they're not stuffy games. They're just good games that you're going to enjoy playing. That's another whole area. So those are just ways of making what you're doing more interesting. Simulations, a lot of science simulations too. But then the other side of that is when your children, you want them to show you what they have learned. You can use techie projects. Instead of getting your kids to write a book report, and this is again when they're little, maybe they can't write, so this is like really good, is you can get them to make a video. Literally a talking head video initially. Later on, you can get them to use tech tools to make a video. maybe an animated one. There are lots of free resources that teach you to do animated ones. In my classes, I get the kids to make choose your own adventure stories. And this is something you could do with your child. Very easy to do with Google Slides. And there's also online things that are free that you can make slightly more advanced versions of. So when you're studying a country, make a poster that shows why they should go and visit Germany. And you can use tools to do that. And those are things that even young kids can manage quite well. And the nice thing about techie projects like that is a lot easier to share with family and friends around the world. And again, you can create digital portfolios using something like Padlet is my favorite resource. It lets you have I think 5 free ones. They're like big pin boards. So imagine a huge big pin board that you go and you pin your kids' work onto, and it can be a private link, so no one else is going to find it. So again, the privacy is not a problem. And you send that to friends and family if they're not living nearby, and they can go and see, oh, look at that cute poster so-and-so made. And, it's a nice, easy way of using tech to share. And when your kid knows that the thing they make is going to get, shared with somebody else somewhere else, it makes them a little bit more proud of doing it too. So there's a lot of good reasons. Teaches them the technology,
Yeah.
it makes it fun, which doesn't mean to say you don't sometimes want to make them write, but I think a lot of writing is going to be less and less in the future, and using the tech tools is going to become more and more.
These are all such good tips and tricks, because in the beginning, when you were talking about just even Google Maps or explore.org, a child is going to remember something so much better and more vividly when you do it that way versus what most traditional schools are is through a book. It's almost like you get to experience that live. Such a great idea. And I find that we are doing that almost every day. We were reading about narwhals and the tusk that they have. And, then we start watching it on National Geographic and they're so much more interested. And then they start asking more questions about it. I love that idea. And then as they get older, like you mentioned, creating their own stories through video. I wouldn't have known how to do that. But as an entrepreneur, it would have been so helpful a year ago to be able to have edited and created my own videos. And instead, I paid a lot of money for people to do that for me. You're teaching your children at a very young age how to be resourceful and do it on your own, because like we were just saying, most parents aren't techie. I'm not for starting an app, I'm not the one developing it. I'm not very techie. So those are all such great ideas.
I must admit that some of my students who I've taught in some of my classes have become my employees. One of my own children worked for me for a bit, but mostly it's other people's children, yeah.
So if a homeschool parent wanted to learn just one tool this year, what would you suggest?
Okay, my suggestion would be Canva, because it's going to be useful for you and it's fairly easy for children to use, and it's free. The free version lets you do a lot. It is something that one of my children pays for it and added me to her team, so I don't have to pay for it. But it's possibly one of those that even as you get older, they don't give free ones to homeschoolers. We do not count as educators, sadly. But you can start by making posters, and they have templates. It's really easy to do these. Also, they have a little online, like a little Canva University that you can teach yourself, but you can just play and use the help to actually get a long way. You can make invitations for birthday parties like that. And, you can start by doing it with your kid. So if you've got a little kid, 5-year-old, put them on your lap, say to them, which one do you think we should use, this one or this? Let them be part of the process. And then in a year or two's time, you just say, hey, you make your own birthday card, invite, and we'll send it out. It saves you postage, you just email it out, and there it is. But it goes beyond just plain graphics. You can do cartoons with it, comic strips with it. You can make videos. You can make websites, slideshows. In fact, I've just, in my co-op class, the kids have just started making slideshows on South America, and the first two presented it, and they both used Canva. So they both had really pretty slideshows.
It was probably so much more visual than a PowerPoint, right? That's not cool anymore. And it's teaching them presentation skills, or like you mentioned, if writing a book report is boring, they can create a whole presentation through Canva instead. What a great idea.
So, and what I want to say to you is a little shout out here. So one of the classes we do sell for teens is graphic creation with Canva. And I have an actual graphic artist who teaches the class, not me, because I I use it, but as a non-artistic person, which is the great thing about it, is that you can be like me and you
Yes.
can do it, and it looks okay. Looks better when
That's
you actually.
okay.
It looks better when you actually have ability. But there it is. Small business owner, I do it mostly myself. But she has just recorded a podcast episode with me. So if you go back, it will be, a couple back, which it has already dropped, where she talks about new ways that homeschoolers can use Canva. And she comes up with a few more ideas how you as a parent can use it with your kids. And one of them is they now have a thing, and I'm going to soon do a whole episode on this, called Canva Code, which allows you to do what they call vibe coding, which basically you just use text to create the little games and things you want. That's another whole thing, but
I
yes, you
don't
might
even
do
know
that for your
about
kids.
this. And I use
Yes.
Canva every day. Yeah.
Right. You probably want to, because I already used it for the last unit study that I created, the last assignment in it. I went and I told it what I wanted and how I wanted to do it, and then I tweaked it a few times. And so it's a fun kind of a matchup game with the exact topic, the exact things I'd covered, with my style that I wanted it, and everything. The scoring, I told it how to do the scoring. You literally can describe your game. So, and that's part of the free version.
Yeah, that's great. Like you said, yeah, I'm not good with graphic design or using those tools. So something I love about Canva, because I'm not super creative and artistic, I use a lot of the templates and then kind of
Me
like
too.
change the colors to match
Yes.
the base camp end colors.
Mhm.
And I'm like, wow, this actually looks pretty decent.
All my podcast graphics are me these days, because I did have a student who was
Yes.
better than me and was doing it, but then she got busier and I got not always on time, and I was like, needing a graphic at the last minute, and she couldn't do it, and so I just had to do it. So it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. It can do so many different things. So that's where I would start. And I think that even young kids can get involved with it quite fast.
So I can't go a whole podcast talking about technology without at least bringing up AI. How do you feel it's affecting homeschooling, or how should you suggest I keep up with what is happening?
First thing is, you have to keep up. Like it or hate it, wherever you are, it's here and it's here to stay. I listen to 2 very long AI podcasts every week trying to keep up. That's my primary way of keeping up, which I'm not saying you should. You guys can follow me because I
You'll do
sort of
like the
distill
snippets.
most of that. So you'll see every sort of 3 or 4. It's not the only thing I talk about. I do talk about a lot of other things, but about every third or fourth one, there will be something related to AI. And you can go look at the ones I've been doing over the last 2 years, ever since ChatGPT emerged on the scene. I started talking about them. The reality is, this is going to change our lives more than the printing press, more than the Industrial Revolution did. And a lot of homeschoolers do not realize that. And these changes aren't in the distant future, they're here. And the speed at which they're coming is coming faster and faster and faster. And you have to see that. My one son is a software developer. In fact, they both are. But the one was visiting me recently, and he showed me all the AI that he uses in creating the app that he works for a startup, what they're working on, and how they all kind of tie into each other and how much faster everything can go. If you don't teach your kids about AI and start to explain what it is and how to use it responsibly, how not to let it use you, that it is just a tool still, they're going to learn it from somewhere, or they're going to not find a job. Because
we need to set them up for success. I know mine are so little, but
you're lucky in a way, because I feel like it will happen and you'll sort of like adapt. And as a homeschool parent, you're not reliant on the school to do it.
yeah,
Parents who've got kids who 11th and 12th grade, they need to be
in a job
really
interview, they're going to be asked, do you know AI, or what AI tools do you use?
You probably don't realize this, but most of the job interviews will be conducted by AI and not by humans. So if you're a big company, an avatar would be the first level of interviewer.
Yeah.
So yes, you absolutely have to know how to use it, because otherwise you're not of much use to me. You also, though, need to know how to use your brain. So there's that whole creative side. So I'm not saying just teach your kids that. As homeschoolers, we have this unique opportunity to keep our kids being creative, being problem solvers, because that's going to be needed. Focus on those skills. Also, communication skills. because we will always prize being humans and communicating and interacting with each other. So make sure your kids can speak well. So speech classes are going to be super important. Problem solving, creativity, encourage all those things with your children so that they can use the AI tools, but then teach them that. And obviously you want to go slowly. I said when they're young, they don't need to use much tech. And as they're getting older, you're going to add more and more in, and you need to keep on top of things so that you know how to be adding it in. But with the AI, as a parent, you can find fantastic things. I use it now when I'm creating a new unit study. I will say, what great resources are out there? And ChatGPT, I actually have a paid subscription. It knows me now. So it knows what I'm looking for, that I'm looking for something that's got great educational value, but it's got to be fun. And it will tell me things that I could not find when I Googled, and it will come up with it. So you can find resources. Secondly, you can get it to create things for you. You can say, hey, my children are wanting to study narwhals and I don't know anything about them. Can you suggest lesson plans that are no longer than 15 minutes at a time because they are 5 and they have no attention span and and that are diverse, and I can do 2 lessons a week for a month. And it will come back and it'll probably come out with some coloring sites. And then you might look and go, oh no, but my kids hate coloring. Those my kids. They didn't want to color anything. And you could say, no, please don't do any coloring and try again. And so and after a while it starts to know you, but you can tweak it to your kids and you can say, I want some activities they can do using their Legos. I want activities, and you can say, I only want 3 of these activities to be online. I want the rest to be offline. Can you suggest good library books I should take out? You can tell it what you want, and it will give that back to you. So it can make you as a homeschool parent so much more effective if you start to use it.
Definitely.
But as they're getting older, one of the things I think you need to do is make sure that you and your children understand how AI works. It's been around for a long time. It's not new. ChatGPT just made it easy for us to talk to it. My dad has a camera that's over 20 years old and has an AI button on it. Every time you used GPS in the last number of years, you were using AI. Every time Netflix suggests the next thing for you to watch, it's using AI. So all those things have been in our lives for a very long time.
Yeah.
But to understand how it's being trained, understand the bias, understand the issues, you really do need to do something. Now, I resisted this because things are changing so fast for a long time, but I do have an AI unit study. I have a lot of parents taking this with their kids. Now, it's aimed at sort of 6th through 12th grade. I do have one 5th grader who's quite advanced doing it with his mom. But this is what I would say. I know a lot of parents are doing it with their kids. You can learn with your kids. Okay, not a 5-year-old. It's not 5-year-old thing, but you could take it and learn it for yourself. That's what I'm offering first, is that you can learn, and I've made it, and the feedback I've had is that people are finding it very engaging and also very eye-opening, teaching how it is. And then I have a whole AI class for teens as well, so you can get a half credit in that. I'm busy creating now. The negative thing about that is, of course, I know I'm going to be changing this every single semester. It's just a half credit because AI keeps changing, which is why I didn't want to do it. But when I kept seeing, I'll tell you what really bothers me, and then I'll finish up, is I'm in lots and lots of homeschool groups. And in so many of these homeschool groups, I will see somebody like posting something about, oh, I just found this cool AI tool, or I just did this with ChatGPT. And the diatribe against them is like, I'm never going to use AI, and this is terrible. And there'll be a million different reasons why they think it's bad. And there are definitely problems with it. Believe me, it's, I know all the problems. And they will list, but they're not keeping up. And so some of the problems they're listing are no longer problems. And they don't even realize this because they've decided, I hate this thing and I'm not going to keep up. So
which is detrimental to the child. I went to a homeschool conference and I was so excited to listen to a speech. I'm not going to say who it was, but part of her speech was using AI is not right, that it needs to be the classical education, and that it's basically this like root of evil and all this stuff. And I agree with every other thing she's saying, but I can't get myself to agree with her. I'm like, that's just setting your child to be unsuccessful in job interviews, and everybody is going to be ahead of them. I don't agree with that.
That's right. And that's why eventually, as much as I am so busy and I didn't need an extra thing in my life to have to, create a new class and grade. At first, just the unit study, and then I realized, no, I really need something where I can interact with the students and be talking back to them. It just really bothers me. Because kids do need to understand the problems with it as well as the possibilities.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing. When your kids are old enough to go to the mall, that won't be the first time going to the mall. when you drop them off at 13 or 15 with their friends. You will have taken them. You probably have gone to the mall already, in their pushchair, and you push them around. Then they get a little older and you're holding their hand very tightly and you're walking around. When they get to sort of 10 or 11, you will go in the toy store and you'll say, do not leave the store and don't go more than one aisle away. And you start letting them go within the store a little bit further away from you. And then eventually you let them go with their friend alone to the mall. And then one day they're driving and they drive themselves to the mall. It's that slow progression. So you can tell them, these are the dangers of the mall. This is how we deal in the mall. This is what you should look out for. You don't just at 16, they get in their car and for the first time go to the mall and have no clue, and that's what I'm like. These kids are going to go to college or a job and they're suddenly going to discover AI. They're going to discover it at some point. You're going to have to give them a phone.
Analogy.
And it's like, what is going to happen?
Do you think, I don't know, because A, my kids are little, and B, they probably won't ever go to a traditional public school, but are the public schools evolving and teaching their students AI? Or do you feel like if we as parents and as homeschool parents do this now, are we setting them up to be more successful? Like, I actually don't know if that's part of the curriculum.
I think that as homeschoolers, we have the best opportunity to set them up to be successful. Now, I know that some schools are doing it because I follow teachers who are implementing it. But also, I don't think the Tennessee schools are doing too much. For instance, I teach computer science because it's required in Tennessee. So I teach that at our co-op. And in the whole breakdown as to what I have to teach, there is not a mention of AI. I do teach it because I need to, but they don't even include it in there. So I know the current administration is doing a big push to add AI into education. How successful they'll be in actually getting that to trickle down through all the schools, because of course you're dealing with teachers who don't always have a clue what's going on either, and so you're having to train the trainers. So I think we are always, as homeschoolers, more agile to actually 100%. Meet the needs. And we can teach the kids because they need to understand the limitations, the problems. They need to understand where this is going. And we can teach them all that, which at a school, like with everything else, there may be a teacher that does a fantastic job, and there may be another one who's literally just following some curriculum that's not that great. Or there's no curriculum at all, or some schools just literally ban it, which I do not ban it in my classes. Because everybody is nervous that kids are just going to go and say, write the essay. And believe me, they do. They do that because my teachers are constantly are complaining and sending me stuff and going, this is what I just got. And the biology teacher knows every time because the answer will be way above the level of anything she's taught, the answer that she gets back. So she knows that she knows. Yeah. So yeah, it's as teachers, the actual AI checkers do not work. Please don't use them. The detectors do not work. And there are literally AI products out there to help kids get around the AI detectors. So that's not the point. As someone who's been teaching for a while now, we all know when the kids are like this. We're kind of going to ask the kid, why was this so much better than your last one? And sometimes they have a good reason, but other times they'll just break down and say, yeah, I used AI. So I let them use AI in certain ways so that I'm trying to teach them how to use it properly. And not when I say to them, this is meant to be handwritten, written yourself, that then they're meant to write it. But I use AI, like in my writing classes, the first drafts I use something called Class Companion. They write into that and it gives them feedback. And then they take it out of there and share it with me. And then I give human feedback and they finally polish up their essay.
Yeah. Great.
It doesn't write it ever. It's just helping them. It's finding their grammar errors and things like that.
This has been such a eye-opening conversation. I'm really excited to go. I know you have over 340 episodes on your podcast, so I don't think I can start from one. But these are all such great tips and ideas. How can my listeners find you?
So basically, like I'm guessing yours is too, it's on all the podcast players. If you go to the website, it's homeschoolingwithtechnology.com. Also on Fundafunda Academy, we have a podcast tab. That's where I've just listed all the titles. So if you want just a huge big list of the titles, it's easiest off of my own website. But otherwise, if you go to homeschoolingwithtechnology.com, you'll see a little excerpt and all the rest. And they're all between 10 and 20 minutes. Try not to go longer than 20 minutes so you can easily listen to a little snack while you are running to the store or maybe taking a quick walk around the house or whatever else.
This was all great ideas and tips, and I just appreciate you coming on today. This has been a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Podcast Network. If you made it all the way to the end, you are amazing. Thank you for listening and your support. Let's stay connected, and here are my tasks for you. Subscribe, like, and share on your favorite podcast app or on my website, basecamped.com. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook at BasecampEdApp, and go download Basecamp if you haven't already. Leave a comment and spread the love.